Okay. Test. All right. Data, you're good to go.
Great, perfect. Well, thanks again for joining us this month for a panel discussion with the City of Houston's this Office of Business Opportunities, as well as HCC here, who's providing the space and resources. Again, this is a monthly panel discussion, so that provides you an opportunity to ask all the burning questions that you have right live and in person, especially coming out of the pandemic, is everything's been virtual. So this is our opportunity to exchange information. We're joined by Dr. Jackson of the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity, as well as Robbie
Brumba.
I try every time.
All right, all right.
Who is the director of the Center of Entrepreneurship here at HCC. And I am Jada Harris. I am a certified sport mentor here in the City of Houston. We're all here to serve. So this month's panel discussion is on the topic of bookkeeping, and what a timely panel discussion, because what is tax season? So my business outside of sport is contract management as well as QuickBooks management. And so I help my clients manage their business information using the tool of QuickBooks. So you'll hear me talk about that often, and also how you can use that tool as it relates to contract management. So let's go ahead and get started. So bookkeeping. Now, you're thinking, okay, I'm here for contracts. That's what I want. I want the money. Yes, you want the money, but you need to learn, or you need, excuse me, you need to have the ability to manage it effectively, and understanding what it is to be or to do or exercise the activity of bookkeeping on a monthly basis is supremely necessary. It is the bottom basic of running your business. If you don't know your numbers, you're in trouble, especially if you're considering, or if you already have a contract with the City of Houston or any other government entity. With that being said, let's get Dr. Jackson's perspective on bookkeeping as it relates to contracts.
You know, I'm going to turn it back on you.
Of course, but it's okay.
So when we talk about bookkeeping, yes, it is the basics of making sure. So when you're looking for government contracts, you want to make sure that your business is a viable business, right? So that your business is up and running. And so Jada, when you say that folks need to know their numbers, can you explain what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So your sales, your expenses, as well as the equity that's in your business. All of that is important information, especially as it relates to contracts, because you cannot even apply for a contract without having a profit and loss statement, income statement, or a balance sheet. Bookkeeping activities roll up into those reports that are required to even apply for, as well as get certified for government contracting. So we do here at the city, excuse me, at the HCC have resources that can help you. Not just, I mean, it is an educational institution, but we also have free resources, or I say we, but Robbie has free resources for entrepreneurships, or entrepreneurs. If y'all only knew how January went for me, y'all would understand, like, sit down. But anyway, free resources that help you with it. So a lot of you, and I get clients like this, that or clients and mentees, accounting, bookkeeping is not their bag. Numbers, not their thing. For me, that's my thing. And you tell me your name, I will forget in seconds. You tell me a number, I'll remember for eternity. But so it's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with, you know, being in your lane. The thing that we have talked about over the year is outsourcing and not being afraid to delegate the things that you cannot or will or not interested in doing. However, with that being said, you still need to know your numbers. I'm a Shark Tank junkie. And if you've ever watched the show, one of the first things they ask you outside of what is your business is, what are your numbers? And this is exactly what they're talking about. We have bookkeeping, we have accounting, and then we have, other activities that involves your numbers. So these are some things that you should be aware and concerned with. Robbie, do you have any comments that you would like to make at this point?
So I could switch over to my self, and hi everybody, my name is Ravi Brumbat. I'm a director at HCC for student innovation and entrepreneurship. What that means is we we get to host workshops, but also competitions and hackathons as a way of really seeding this entrepreneurial mindset amongst all our students. And our students come from all walks of life, all types in terms of all ranges of age and so on. And that's a blessing in this very diverse city. So we are very thankful for SCORE for providing us the business education here, the entrepreneurship education, as well as to Office of Business Opportunity for telling us how to leverage all these free resources in the community. Today is on the topic of bookkeeping. If you were to go downstairs to room 100, there are dedicated tax consultants available for you for free to help you do your taxes. The service is being provided by AARP, and AARP will help you on your personal taxes, and then I'm sure they have insights for business taxes. But just like them, SCORE also has these resources as well, where you can just say, you know what, I just need a second opinion. I don't have an accountant doing this. Am I getting the best or not, or what have you? But on the topics of that, I think it is a hot topic, and room's almost half full, or so it's everybody's interested in it. We provide these services for free. We don't charge anything. Whether we do one-on-one mentoring with our students or aspiring entrepreneur from the community, we offer all of these things for free. If you're already an established business owner, we do have programs for you as well, such as the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program, where we encourage those established, a couple of years ago, like 2 or 3 years, they've been in business, they have at least 3 employees, they have revenues of up to 100,000 or 150,000, I think was the last number. Then consider being a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses participant. And it's a free program if you're qualified, if you're, there's a bunch of interviews. But it's a fantastic program. HCC now has nearly 1,000 business owners. And I think the stat is 96% of them are still in business since it started in 2014. So that is a great resource where you have a instructor/coach that walks you through the Goldman Sachs curriculum, which includes a lot on finances and knowing your numbers as an as a way of getting yourself educated a bit more and certified by Goldman Sachs that your business knows what it's doing. We also have a minority business development agency. If you're a bit larger in size and you've got at least $1 million in revenue and you want to get on contracts, both state level and federal level, then and you have a capability statement, things that you learn about from you guys. At the college, we have a dedicated staff group that treats the business owner as a client, and they represent the client during these big procurement meetings or with a prime contractor to try to help get subcontract work with the clients that they represent. They do about $192 million worth of contracting every year. So a lot of money for our local entrepreneurs or business owners. So we'll take, so that's for those well-established looking to grow. But then those who are incubating or just thinking about ideas and just getting their foot off the ground, we do pitch competitions. We have a business plan competition that takes place where you're sitting with a mentor, working out your business plan, and then pitching towards a panel of bankers for seed funding. There's also student pitch competitions that I run, where you're, like a Shark Tank format, but it's like a mini Shark Tank. Everybody's helpful instead of trying to, steal your business. We rather, we charge nothing, we take no equity, but we provide mentoring and guidance. Unlimited mentoring is what I get to service. So again, for that stage, you do need to know your numbers, and we do need you to kind of spend time in putting that together, get in the habit of putting this together. I think habits are important, especially if you want to be a business owner, is you got to have good habits and you got to know good people. So networking and good habits. And we have resources at HCC that we can help you. So we'll pass it back to you, Jay.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you. So one of the things that Robbie mentioned, the tax consultants that are available to help you, that are free. And that's a great resource. Anyone that has done their business taxes before, even your personal taxes, can be upwards of $300 to $300 and beyond. Depending on, I know one client recently told me that, this is a personal client, he told me last year to get his taxes completed for last year, with the understanding that they did no bookkeeping the entire year. The tax accountant charged them $6,000 for that year. That's how imperative it is. And I'm putting this on the table only because I want you to understand how detrimental it is, not just to your pocket, but also the understanding of your business. For an entire year, they didn't know how much money they made. For an entire year, they didn't know what money went out. They had an idea, of course, every time you swipe a card or you pay someone, or, you have an idea, but you don't know your exact numbers. Also, I had a client a couple of years ago that came to me. She needed her QuickBooks cleaned up, and she didn't know how much money she was bringing in. She, through the city of Houston, she was in an electrical engineering contractor. A woman-owned electrical engineering company, which means that her capability was very finite, which means that there was not a lot of competitors. She was able to get contracts with NASA. She didn't know that she was a multi-millionaire because she did not know her numbers. She knew money was coming in. She was definitely spending it, but she didn't know exactly how much money she was bringing in. So that's why it's imperative that you know your numbers. I also had I teach at another location, and I had someone provide this testimony. Her brother won $13 million in the lottery, and today he cannot buy a can of Pepsi because he did not know his numbers. He trusted someone else to manage those numbers. If I just have one of those millions, I will turn Houston upside down, I promise you. Okay, so I'm just trying to plant a seed here of why it's important to know your numbers. There are mechanisms to help you understand it. Again, QuickBooks is one of them. There's other ones. There's free ones, of course, but you get what you pay for. So let's what I also wanted to say about SCORE is that, yes, we also have CPAs. Let me go ahead and say this. I am not a CPA. Okay, I am a experienced, trained accountant. So 25 years of accounting experience through a major university, but I am not a CPA, which means that I did not go for that certification. CPAs provide you with the expertise and information in order to make money decisions, such as purchasing an IRA or something to that effect, helping you manage and grow your money. So I do like to explain the levels of accountancy for especially for entrepreneurs. Bookkeepers, and I just said delegate, right? Bookkeepers, if you're interested in onboarding a bookkeeper, you should pay somewhere around $125 to $175 a month for a bookkeeper to help you do the day-to-day entry of your numbers. That's it, okay? An accountant will do that for you, as well as provide you with analysis of those numbers. Tell you, okay, you brought in $5,000 last month. In order for you to hit $10,000 next month, this is what you need to do. These are how many widgets you can sell in order to get to that number, so on and so forth. Okay, they provide you with your net income. They analyze your business documents. You would pay somewhere around $175 to $500 a month, depending on the level of services that you need. That includes the bookkeeping, the reporting, as bank reconciliation, as well as maybe payroll. Okay, Now CPAs, they will charge you anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month to do everything that I just mentioned, in addition to the financial management and education, that kind of thing. So CPAs are highly regarded and important, especially as it relates to helping you grow your money. In fact, when any of my clients hit $1 million mark, that's when I tell them, okay, now it's time for us to onboard a CPA. I do have a CPA that I work with, I collaborate with, that provides them with the help that they need in order to file their taxes and also to make money decisions. So I'm going to get off my soapbox for a moment and then talk to Dr. Jackson about contracts and the numbers that are expected when you are applying for contracts. So there's a lot of misconception. Oh, I need to be in business for 5 years, or I need to have a certain amount of clients or something to that effect. There are things that they need to know.
So there are mainly to know in general, contracts are gonna differ. And I didn't know you were gonna ask me that question. I could have just brought up a contract. Okay, listen, all right. So I'm gonna go on my phone and see if I can bring up a contract, and then that way we can kind of use that as an example. But as I do that, just remember that there's like no specific rule across the board. Every contract is going to differ based on what that contract is about. So what you want to do is make sure that you get in the habit, especially if you're looking into contracts for the government space. You want to make sure that your business is solid. And like mentioned before, knowing your numbers is solid, but also your numbers let you know kind of where you are in your business. Because as you go through different levels of your business, as Robbie talked about, the Goldman Sachs 10K businesses, those folks have made at least 150,000. Sometimes when they reach that level, it's like, how do we get to $1 million? We've been doing this 150, 200,000 for a while. Most of the time, it's going to be your marketing and your numbers. So you got to stop running your business like you did when you first started, because you now have reached a certain level. So you got to adjust those. And it involves a lot of knowing different ratios and what those ratios tell you about your business. So I'm going to pull up a contract. Okay. How many people are in construction? How many are in like caregiving? Perfect.
These three, okay, good.
Okay, that looks like okay. So there's, for instance, there's a contract out now for aging and caregiving support services. So if we bring up that contract, so when you look for contracts, there's going to be information like an invitation to bid. There'll be some other forms depending on what type of contract that is. So if we bring up this aging and caregiving support services, it lets us know, one, the department, which means the Houston Health Department is requiring these services. There's going to be codes that are listed that identify. So when we talk about codes, we use NIGP codes. So NIGP codes is a way to identify all of the different services or products that you offer. So if a contract has a code on it, and specifically like this one has maybe about 10 different codes. So you may say, oh, aging career support services, I have a code like that. Oh,
I pulled it up for you. Yeah,
okay.
trying to help you out.
Thank you.
Should I open it?
Yes.
Okay.
That one. And then go to the second one, invitation to bid.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So y'all see all those codes? You see all the codes there? So in order to work on this contract, you have to meet these codes, right? So you just can't say, oh yeah, provided, but if you don't have any of those codes, you wouldn't be able to bid on it because we have not verified you as being able to provide that service. So all the numbers you see are tied to a specific service for this. And so the next you'll see is right after the last code, you see MWBE 5%. That means that there is a M stands for minority, W stands for woman-owned business enterprise, 5%. So you have a prime contractor. A prime is the company, the business that has a contract directly with the city. So if Jada is a prime contractor, then that means 5%, she has to subcontract out to me, per se. I'm a minority and woman-owned business. So I know that I might get 5% of the contract that she has. That's there to make sure that smaller businesses, marginalized businesses have the opportunity to grow their business and work on these larger projects. Because maybe with my business, I haven't been in business for a long time. I might not have all of these codes. Jada does. So I might be able to do a portion of the work. And so that's what the certification allows me to do. And so if we scroll down, so 74-page invitation to bid, we are not going to go through all 74 pages, but I just wanted to point out some of the things of it that you just want to be aware of when you're looking at contract and just kind of get you familiar with it. But if you are interested in contract, you need to go through all 74 pages. Whether you have the capacity to do all that's on the contract or not, you need to be in the habit of knowing, getting familiar with the language of how it's written and the basic requirements that's written. And the contracts are very specific. So this aging in care services contract can be different from another one. So you can't always assume that it's going to have the same requirements as one that you've seen before. So if you scroll down to, I think, page 7, you'll see where it has tables of conflict of interest, certificate of insurance, bids and terms. And so it gives you sample information of what's needed. You always want to also go to the scope of work, and that I believe is on page 8, section B. At the top, it will say scope of work specifications. And so there you can see the purpose of what it's for. And then you can see the federal regulations that are associated with it. So then you know, okay, to get this contract, I have to be registered to do business with the feds or the federal level of government.
And not all city contracts require that. So that is something different.
This is something different. So that's why it's just important to always know what you see on one contract might not be on the other contract. And then you can see here, this contractor has to comply to all federal, state, and local. So city is going to be your local government. State, of course, is going to be your state agencies. Typically, in aging and support, you have to get licensed and some permitting done to the state. That's not done typically through the city. And then there's federal. So if you look at the minimal qualifications, here it's telling exactly what it says. So if you look at 3.2, you have to be in business for 60 consecutive months, which means 5 years in good standing with the state of Texas. So that means if you did not submit your taxes, especially because it's a federal contract, if you have any violations with the state of Texas, that would not put you in good standing. So all that goes back to making sure your business is solid when you're talking about government contracts.
Yes. And I know a lot of people think, okay, you didn't submit. I have clients, especially last year, I had at least 4 clients that have not submitted their taxes in 3 years. So this would put them completely out of the market for this particular contract, especially because it's related to the federal government. Again, back to the bookkeeping, it's the bottom basic of getting to the level that you are interested in as far as contracts.
And then also, you'll see here, it's asking for criminal background checks for all your staff and volunteers. And just briefly looking through it, some contracts will ask for financial documents, but also to see how you keep your finances. So if your business credit is poor, then that will take you out of getting a contract. So that's another thing why you have to make sure that you're keeping up with your bookkeeping, but also keeping up, because you got to be able to pay your bills. If you're not paying your bills on time, that's affecting whether or not you get a contract. Also, one really important thing is a lot of times on contracts, well, really on all contracts, especially with the government, it's not, here's $1 million contract, here's $1 million, now go out and perform it. you have to perform first before you even get a portion of that payment. So if your business is not able to sustain itself, pay your employees, pay your subcontractors, that could put you in a deficit. And if you don't perform well on one contract, Houston is big, the communities are small, right? People know.
Absolutely.
Dr. Jackson, there's a lot of work, but where do I see the potential of how much money I can charge? Or is there a budget? Is there a number?
So
Or
typically it will be here, let me go back to the table. of
It does
contents.
depend on the contract.
Mhm.
It could be best price,
Yeah.
best value, or they will provide you with a budget, like $2 million. So even if they set that $2 million
It's worth it,
budget, someone else can beat you out by submitting 1.5 or 1 million. So that's the best price. So it just all depends, but it may be listed in the bid.
So, on the first page, under bidding and award, it tells us there that it's gonna be awarded on the basis of low overall net bid, meeting specifications for the entire award. So,
If they're asking for XYZ and it's a $2 million bid and you have XYZ and your bid is 2.5, then that rules you out, right? If you do XYZ and your bid is 1.5, then you just beat someone else out, possibly. But if your bid is 1 million and you only have X of XYZ, then you're not meeting the requirements. There's a lot of different elements to understand.
mhm.
so,
And then you'll see, and y'all can always go back and look on page 2, under the contents, you'll see all the different sample contracts attachments. It's talking about the different services that need to be provided. And so what you really do is you go through the bid with a fine tooth comb, write down your questions. I would say I'm kind of more of an old school person, so I like to print stuff out and write it down. Print it out. If you're like me, write your questions by what you see on the bid, and then there's what's called a pre-bid conference on page 1, and that's the opportunity for you to go and ask the questions that you've written down. What can happen sometimes is, and you'll see it, and that's why when you went to the bid and there was like 4 different documents, what happens is you might go to the pre-bid conference and someone who's interested, like Jada, right? She's a potential prime contractor. She may say, ooh, for all these services, I would have to charge this, that, and the other. Is that something, that could happen? They might say, oh, we didn't think about that. So they might make an amendment to that particular bid and they'll put it in that same document. So that document folder, so you'll see information there. But I would say just one of the first things you want to do is, if you're interested in government contracts, is start looking at ones that, if it applies to you, yes. If there's something that you think maybe I can do, look at those, because it's very important. You have to be persistent because it's highly, highly competitive. And one of the ways that you can remove yourself is that you do not have your numbers together, because your numbers ultimately tell people how viable your business is. And so what someone is not going to do is have an aging and care contract they give to you, and you're not treating folks fairly, because that falls back on the city, right? And we know we live in a time where lawsuits are
Prevalent.
prevalent,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that, because then it will come to, why would the city give a contract to somebody? They don't even have it, they haven't done their taxes.
Right, in 3 years.
Right.
So, and like I said, I've been doing this for 25 years. And one of the things I can tell you, and I used to help create grants for professors, for NIH and all that good stuff. You can write all this flowery or make all the promises, say that you can deliver on the XYZ, but your numbers tell your story. You can tell them all this beautiful thing about your business, but if you have only made, $1,000 in 1 year, that's saying something about your business without even reading what you said that you can do. So that's another reason why you have to have your numbers in order. I saw a hand back here in the corner there.
Yes,
Yes.
I didn't know how to.
No, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
Looking at the bids, do they have, do they offer courses for people to understand how to read a bid, how to submit a bid?
So, the best resource I can tell you for that is to go to formerly called PTAC, but now called Apex Accelerator. They specialize in helping folks to read bids and actually submit bid packages, at local, state, and federal levels.
You say
So-
Apex?
Apex Accelerator, but they're still gonna be under PTAC right now, which stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center. If you put that in, it'll bring up their website. They're in the process of changing their name. But I think their website is still under PTAC right now.
And those of you who are online, it is a national organization connected to the Small Business Development Center that provides you with those free resources. And they will connect you with a mentor that will walk you through the contract application process. Very excellent resource. Do we have any other questions? It's PTAC, PTAC. Procurement
Could
Technical.
you confirm if that's the right logo? APEC Accelerators?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. I think you're right. The name has changed.
And so what I would advise people to do, especially if you're like, yes, I want to get in the government contracting space, no matter what level of government, start looking at bids now. Start going to these resources now. Because as you can see, the bid that we looked at, I don't remember when it was due, but the pre-bid conference had already been completed.
25th. Yeah, January 25th. I think it was due February 8th or something.
Okay,
The 13th, the 8th. I thought.
so it's February 8th, that's next week, right? And so the pre-bid conference was last week. So there's only a short amount of time. They try to put them out at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance. But once it hits, for you to put a bid, that's 74 pages. Do you think that bid is gonna be 1 page for you to complete? There's a lot of information you're gonna have to get together. And if this is your first time looking at a bid and you're trying to get that together, you can't be scrambling because Apex Accelerator might already be booked up for appointments. So you wanna get in the habit of being proactive, looking at bids. And like I said before, it's just looking at them and saying, okay, this would be something I'm interested in. Let me go through it. Let me, write my questions down. Let me go to the pre-bid conference. Even if you're saying, I'm not ready to bid on it yet, start that process so you understand the conversations that they're having. You're noticing the people that's coming, because I guarantee you, everything really in life is kind of like a pattern, like a formula.
Mhm.
The people who have had one bid probably just didn't stop there, that one contract. They probably get several contracts, because once you get, it's like in the habit of, it's like a formula, but then it's also just a process once you get to know things and know people. So you need to start that process networking as well, especially if this bid is $1 million and you have not had a $50,000 contract, right? So are we really ready for $1 million contract and we haven't had a 50,000? But maybe we can come in as a subcontractor. So we need to start building those relationships with folks so they'll know my face when I come in and say, hey, Jada, I've been seeing you at these pre-bid meetings over time.
Right.
I'm ready, here's what I can do. I can provide the dental services for this contract. Is there a way that I can be the sub on this contract?
Right. And that's that building the relationship that we talked about in previous meetings. That is not just about, getting that other line of income. You're building relationships for future opportunities. And this is the way to do it, the pre-bid meetings. Circling back to the numbers, again, if you don't have your numbers, there's no way that you can be prepared to submit a contract by February 8th. If you don't have your income statement from 2020, I think you have to go back 3 years, 2022, 5 years for some, yes. 2022, 2021, 2020, if you don't have those documents, there's no way you can apply for it. The system won't let you submit without those documents being attached. And you can't, I've seen people do the attach a blank document and say, I'll get it to you later. No, it don't work like that. Okay, so another thing is that we mentioned about, the organizations, that can help you with, creating your contract or being aware of it. It's what I have experienced in the past is that it's one thing to have an understanding of what contracts, the expectations of the agencies and all that good stuff. But like Dr. Jackson alluded to, if you don't have a system in place in order to apply for these contracts when they become available, because they send out City of Houston sends out notifications every Monday. And you may watch it every Monday, and then they may update it between Mondays. And a contract is going to be due that, within the next 2 weeks or so on and so forth. It's an emergency of some sort. If you're not prepared, if you don't have a system in place, then you're not able to apply for that contract. So outside of going to PTAC, you must then also know how to manage the contract once you get it, once you have that cycle of application. And we will talk about this in later panel discussions, and we have slides that give you a good visual of what to expect when cycling through a contract submission.
And then also too, and to come to your question, when we talk about numbers, if people ask you, what's your profit margin? How many people know their profit margin?
How many we got one. How many people do know what the profit margin expectation is for your industry? Those are two different questions here. See, she knows. Okay, what's your profit margin? 60. Okay, so you're probably what, service-based business, IT? No, what do you do? Restaurant. Interesting. Okay.
But I think I have a limit.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. You must have like a ghost kitchen or, okay.
No, I'm the only restaurant in Houston that sells food from the country of Belize.
Nice.
So,
I like it.
I
Yeah.
haven't had a lot of competition.
Yes.
I mean, I have a lot, but because people have lots of different types of food.
Ethnic
that they
food,
can
yes.
go do.
Mhm.
But I'm still in that new
For Brazil,
stage.
yes. So what is the profit margin for your industry, for the restaurant industry?
Very small, I guess.
It's extremely small. I think it's somewhere between 20 and 30%. It's and so what that means is that in the restaurant industry, as much money as you make, that you sell, your actual net profit is only about 20%. Okay, so that's something to consider. Those of you who are starting business, if you want to go into the restaurant business, is taking home 20% enough for you?
And
For
that
some,
even-
that's great.
And that relates to contracts too,
Yes.
because sometimes some people are so infatuated with having government contracts
Mm.
that they don't realize that if it's going lowest bid, they might bid the lowest and realize they're gonna be in the hole for
Right.
just having that contract.
Right.
So, and that goes back to really knowing your numbers, like, is this really viable for my business? Think about the people you have to pay, think about your time.
Yes.
'Cause my favorite thing is you don't get time back,
No,
money you
right.
can make back, time you don't get back.
Exactly.
Oh, I just had a question about, the PTAC. What exactly does that teach you again?
So they do a lot of different things. They pretty much operate in the space of government procurement to help you get prepared. They have a variety of different workshops for things like capability statements, which we'll talk about that at another
Another kind of discussion.
capability statements, applying for the different certifications, right? Because each local, state, and federal government has their own certifications. They can help you with those applications, and they can also help you to submit bid packages for solicitations that you may be interested in.
The only thing
And-
they can't do is do it for you.
Right.
They can show you and
Come
inform
close.
you. Yeah, very close, but then you actually have
Yeah.
to fill it out and do all that good stuff. That's the legality.
Yes,
Mhm.
the information is right up there.
Yes.
Ron
We had
is Great on
Yes,
the ones
he
and twos.
was quick with it. We had a question over in front of
You were talking about the profit margin. I don't know if I missed it or not, but where would you go to find what your profit margin?
Uncle Google is your friend. So if you, put profit margin for restaurant industry and it'll bring up some resources. I like to use the Occupational Outlook Handbook. That gives you a lot of information about specific industries. Usually that handbook is used for individuals that are looking for jobs and, the type of career they want to start. But you as an entrepreneur can also use that handbook to understand the industry as well. So that's the Occupational Outlook Handbook, OOH. And then you put that in Google and pull up for you, free resource.
And then keep in mind too, when you're doing government contracting, again, remember Jada's the prime and I'm the sub. So Robbie might say, well, I want to be the sub too. She might say, I want to be the sub too. So now Jada is like, well, I got 3 folks who want to be the sub. I'm only giving up 5%. I don't want to give up more than 5%. That means all 3 of us have to vie to be her sub. And so she could say, which one of y'all is more credit worthy?
Yeah.
Who knows their books?
Or have I established a relationship
Mhm.
with someone, one of you already? And so who am I gonna go with? You know, are you gonna lend to your cousin? Are you gonna lend to the person around the corner that's standing on the corner? You know, depending on who your cousin is, you know, that's a decision you have to make. But, you know, you're gonna go with the person that you have a relationship with first. And then also with that understanding, if I'm the prime, that means all that responsibility is on me. So a lot of people, they're gun ho. I got a phone call just this week. I want a federal contract. Oh, do you? Okay, well, what's your website so I can get your information? Oh, I don't have that yet. That's one of the requirements the federal government has. In addition to, you have to be in business for at least 2 years before you can even apply for a contract. They have a mentor program and all that good stuff. So we talk about this all year. My suggestion is start smaller. Start on the level that that you can control, like Dr. Jackson mentioned. You know, you may not be able to go after that prime contract, but you may be able to be a sub or go after something much smaller so that you can get your feet wet and understand what contracting is. So keep that as an understanding. And then also, again, with the numbers, knowing your numbers and what the expectations are.
And then I was thinking about something, I kept forgetting it too. So even if we're trying to compete for a subcontract, she has every right to say, you know what, y'all 3 can submit to me a bid for this subcontracting, right? And also, if I'm trying to bid and get this subcontracting opportunity, I might look at like, this requires me to have a Caterpillar machine. I don't have one of those. So I have to go out and rent one. And so maybe it doesn't make sense for my bank account to get that Caterpillar. I might have to go and get a loan. So when I go and get a loan, what are they gonna ask me? What's your numbers? Can you pay us that?
Right. How much equity do you have in your business? That's something that you'll find on the balance sheet. And that's only going to be produced after you have identified your assets, your liabilities, and then that produces your equity. So if you don't know those numbers, some of us have credit cards, that's a liability. Some of us have bank accounts, that's an asset. When you take that asset from that liability, that's your equity. And if you're upside down, they're not going to give you a loan. Okay, even if you have $5,000 in equity and you need a $50,000 loan, they're more than likely banks are not going to give you that loan because you don't have enough equity in your business. The idea is that if you default on your loan, what are they going to come after? The $5,000 that you have? That's not enough for the $50,000 loan that you're asking for. So knowing this information, it's like, okay, I know at some point I need to buy a piece of equipment. How can I grow these numbers? That's what these documents provide for you. That's why it's important to do bookkeeping. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions. And I know there's a lot of question marks in the air here. And then it's not just specific to bookkeeping. It's any questions that you have as it relates to contracts with the city of Houston, SCORE resources, HCC resources. Yes, sir.
What if your business is a startup and you have no numbers to present?
Okay.
What resources are available?
So, and this is in reference to applying for a contract?
Contract, a loan, just gathering resources so that you can actually start getting that.
So my suggestion is the relationship building. If you like Dr. Jackson said, if you are interested in contracts, becoming a sub with someone, they may not be very interested in you having clients or the numbers that match, but you have, the ability to do the work that they need as a contractor. One that helps you meet that 5% MBE goal. So there's a lot of primes out there that they really, if you can do the work and you're an MBE, you're pretty much golden. The numbers don't really, they're not really looking at the number because you help them meet that goal. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So relationship building, in my opinion, is the best way to help. And I've been in your seat, and it doesn't take long. Once you get out there and you start networking, it only take about a year for you to get the numbers that you need. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I understand that he said that it makes sense to him, but he definitely asked the same question I had. What you said. So basically, like, if you're trying to start up a business and you gotta make a business plan, where would you go in order to be able to input the numbers that you need in order for the business plan to work?
Okay, so that's a totally different question. So with SCORE, we do have a business plan resource on our website, and that's houston.score.org. And if you look at the top, it'll say business resources or resources. And then you can pull down a business plan template there that will help you with completing it, as well as connecting with the SCORE mentor in the industry that you're interested in, and they'll help you walk through that process. There's also what's known as a financial management or financial forecasting template that's on that website as well, that help you plug in some numbers to give you an understanding, okay, for the next 12 months, if I'm trying to hit $12 million, I need to make $1 million a month. Okay, so that it gives you the resources you need to help you make those decisions.
And also the Houston Public Library has a business center too. And so, they love to help people. Sometimes almost close to, you just tell them and they'll do it for you.
Run around, here's this.
Yeah, and so they can look through, what you're trying to do. And really help you. One area that I think is beneficial to folks who are just starting and wanting to start a business, they can kind of tell you your competition in a particular area. So if you're saying, I want to open up a hair salon in zip code 77002, they can look and tell you, there's 5 hair salons in the same area, or there's none. And so you can kind of really understand, like, do I really want to open up here? How much it's going to cost you to open up there? But they can do a lot of industry analysis for you or with you.
As well as customer analysis as
Yeah.
well. So in that same zip code, how many people are make between 50 and 100,000, which is your demographic, your particular demographic. So it'll help you understand those numbers as well.
Yeah.
I think with the US Census, they have a toolkit for that as well.
Yeah.
You can actually be specific, if not with the zip code.
Yes.
Mhm. SBA does as well too.
I see other hands. Yes, ma'am.
So what's the best way to get out of that? What kind of meeting?
So, I mean, it really, this is a business decision and it really, get out there. The worst thing, especially for introverts like me, is staying in and expecting people to come to you. It's not gonna happen. And then COVID made that really, really bad as far as networking, we got good at it towards the end. And now we're trying to break out of that. In fact, with SCORE, we have a location, our main location on Gessner, where we have in-person mentoring where you can show up without an appointment, just, go there between the hours, I think, of 10 and 3. And you could just speak with anyone about any business idea or just getting started or growing your business. And now that we are back in person, we're struggling bringing people to the site because we've done the Zoom thing. But SCORE has in-person as well as webinar opportunities daily, where it gives you an opportunity to network. Next week, I'm providing an intro to bookkeeping webinar through SCORE. It is through Zoom, but I encourage individuals to,
As you're talking, I'm
Okay,
showing
thank
them.
you. I encourage individuals to put their information in the chat so that they can exchange amongst the people that are on the webinar. And then that way you can network. That's another virtual way to network. But the best thing is to go to, what is the interest that you have? What business interest do you have?
It's common wellness.
Okay, so hospitals, any free is me, any free event, you're going, what you're doing is making connections with people in the industry that you're interested in. Okay, and so anything that you can find in the community, try to start within your zip code, within Houston, within Texas, within the Southwest, so on and so forth.
And also our office, we produce a weekly e-blast that has the different events that are going on, like in the government space. And so you can always send an email to obosc@houstontx.gov and ask to be added to the distribution list. That way, every Monday you'll get a list of the different events, which include networking events, workshops like Jada mentioned. I would say my advice to networking, and this is only coming from how I like to spend my time, it has to make sense for me to be there.
Yes.
Right? And if I'm going to look at one, where's my competition going? What professional organizations are they with? If I'm going into the government contracting space, who are those people getting the contracts? Because wherever they're at, that's where I want to be. And so I'm looking what organizations they're affiliated with, what events that they like to attend. When I see them on flyers, who are they associated with? That's where I'm going. And then when I'm going there specifically looking for a couple people to talk to.
Yeah, that's another thing about networking, a little, tip, is that especially for introverts like me, I don't want to be in, a room, but if I want to make some money, I'm going to have to, right? And so there's people that are extrovert, they can go and talk to everybody and, they get numbers. Make it a point to meet with 3 people and be out. And that makes it helps you feel comfortable with what you're doing. And then you'll get more familiar with the process of networking, and then it won't feel so bad. Then in addition to that, when you do get the 3, follow up. Okay, even if it's in how you do that, and this goes along with the contracting is too, when you meet with the contract manager at the bid meetings, the pre-bid meetings, send them an email. It was a pleasure meeting you yesterday even if it goes nowhere, you've done your part. But I don't know how many times I've sent a follow-up email and it resulted in a connection or in a business opportunity. So, in the beginning, it may not seem very fruitful, but once you get in the habit of it, it will become fruitful for you.
And then also a little secret that I used to use too, because I'm fine with networking now, but I used to hate it because you have people like 3 people here in the conversation. You're like, well, how do I go and interrupt the conversation? So I just really would look for somebody who's like standing out like me. I would hook myself up with the outgoing person and we just tag team. So I'm just,
I like that.
and then I'll just say whatever I gotta say and I'm listening. If it seems like none of these people can help me, okay. Hey, why don't we go to talk to them? And then when she goes, I go,
I like
That's
that.
what I did.
I like that.
That's that question. I'm actually really very concerned about the bookkeeping because that's one of the reasons why I came for this meeting. And the issues that I try to, my wife and I, we have a business which is into fashion, and also we have another kind of food business that is developing, and we have a lot of patronage, in not like large number, but when the quality of our service is very good and our products are very good. But I have a problem being to be able to do record keeping, and I know about QuickBooks. I actually talked to one of my uncles about that. He's a CPA, and he told me I should go for QuickBooks, but I don't know how to use it effectively, and I'm actually concerned about that.
Okay, so right there on the 14th at 12 p.m., I'm doing the introduction to QuickBooks, which is a broad overview of how to use the QuickBooks tool, QuickBooks Online. And the answer that's every webinar through SCORE. You can sign up, register there. I also teach QuickBooks at another location, and then I also provide one-on-one training through my business. So there's plenty of opportunities, but yes, QuickBooks is an absolute excellent tool for you to help manage those numbers. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So for the, we're gonna go for the bookkeeping and by the end of the course, are we gonna get into the tax strategy stuff?
No, was that an explanation? I didn't think, but we want to go over taxes. but do you have questions? I can try to answer them for you.
No, no, very-
Okay, so, again,
It's
okay,
February
here we
9th.
go, there we go. On February 9th, SCORE has an online event, for you, to discuss those tax questions, but also Robbie mentioned earlier that there's individuals downstairs that can, help you with any questions you have as well. Yes, sir.
So, excuse me, I'm gonna have an online business, online store,
Yes.
that's gonna be custom handmade leather product. So I have to do the work and the administrative part of it.
Yes.
I'm having problem with time management.
Okay, so I know that Robbie has a free resource here. When you get to the point of delegating out what you want to delegate out, whether it's making the gloves or the administration of both. Here at HCC, they have interns that are free, that can do, what you need them to do. Robbie, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so the college offers 90 different programs. Everything from accounting, arts, drama. Anything you can imagine, right? There's a program for it. Cybersecurity, AI, dance, right? Anything. So all of these folks are trying to get their associates or certification that they have, formally been trained in some way. A lot of times, there is a career center, and they go to that career center looking for work. Now, it's the chicken and the egg, right? You have experience or not, right? And then which comes first? So a lot of these students are looking for work experience. And before they get work experience, they need to get out into the industry, network, and then also do the business, have someone that validates that, yes, this person spent 6 months at my office, and yes, they know A, B, and C. So one way is to go to the Career Center at HCC. HCC sees about 45,000 students through their doors every year. So that's a huge, workforce potential for you. They are all looking, you go to school, most people, 99.9% go to school because they are looking for better opportunities and their passions, right? So if you say that we're looking for accounting interns to help us manage XYZ, or if you say I need a computer science because I'm setting up a website and I need to know how to use WordPress, or I need digital communications to help me manage my social media campaigns. You go to the career services. If you have a business and a website that people can search you up, and then you say, I'm offering this in the summer, or I'm offering this from 3 months from now, that goes into the system. People submit their resumes and they send it to you. You could say if it's paid or unpaid internship. If it's paid, how much will you pay them per the hour? But what qualification do you require of them? If it's unpaid, you could say what type of student you're looking for, so have some job duties. So that way, these students apply, you get to interview them. If you like it, go ahead and hire them. I always say hire an eagle, so hire them and engage with them, and that becomes solves your delegation problem, because these students exist. They're
Yes.
all in our towns, they're local. Instead of you contracting to somewhere else in the world, local, right? So-
And I've had an actual client go through HCC, and the resumes that were provided were excellent. I mean, you think, well, I may get someone that, or they may give me a pool of people that just don't have any experience. They just started school or something. Now, these individuals, actually, a couple of them were doctors. They had a PhD or something, and they were coming back
Mhm.
for a different education, but they had experience in other areas. So it's a good pool of students that you would be receiving. Now, I keep, you have a question, I'm sorry.
Yes, but Jackson, you mentioned that we should get on the distribution list, so, and then we gave the email.
It's OB, like in boy, O, S as in Sam, C, at Houston, TX.gov. And you'll just send an email and say, I would like to be added to the distribution list. You can just include your first and last name, the email address you want the distribution list information to go to, and then your company name if you have a company.
Do we have any other questions? And we have come to time, and we thank you again for your patience as we got started. But we are available, we do have business cards we can provide to you, if you want to follow up with us or have questions. But yeah, I mentioned intro to bookkeeping. Oh, next month. Oh, obtaining business resources is and that's gonna be on March 2nd, right here in this room. And so if you are, wanting to, grow your business, using the resources that we mentioned here, there's also the other resources that we'll mention as it relates to government contracting. That's the event that you want to attend. Okay. Right.
So there is a little sign-in sheet going around. Please do sign in if, let me put